Creative African Exchange (CAX) is a consolidated marketplace for the creative and cultural industry, which speaks directly to the creative economy in Africa. African Export-Import Bank's Creative African Exchange Program, in collaboration with African Union, UNESCO, Times Multimedia, and other multilateral institutions and strategic partners, bring you the Creative African Exchange Weekend, to be held in Kigali, Rwanda. That's from 16th to 18th January 2020. The Creative Africa Exchange, which was initiated at the IATF in 2018, held in Egypt and hosted by the Egyptian government, and led to 32 billion, and that's in trade deals, and 1,100 exhibitors from 45 countries in attendance. Looks really very big. I have in the studio live to talk more on this the Director of Operations and Strategy, CX, that's Ike Ogwebile, and also the Project Manager is here, CAX Program, that's Tony Alamatu. Thank you very much. They said ladies first, but I think I'm going to start from you. Okay. Let me start here. Men first this time. Ike, tell us more about CX.
Just like you just said earlier on, Tolu, a few minutes ago, that the Creative Africa Exchange, really, CAX, is a consolidated marketplace for the creative and cultural industry. As you also know, that the creative economy in Africa is a recognized and significant economy that has made major impact in both the social cultural value and the creative value and social value for different economies. So as now we begin to see that governments are recognizing that the creative economy sector is a very important sector in the industry or in the continent. And so AFREXIM Bank has taken advantage of that and said, okay, you know what? Let's put a structure together. So Times Multimedia is the one actually developing the whole program for AFREXIM Bank. And you see the heavyweights like the AFDB and UNESCO all coming on board, trying to do everything possible to bring the creative industry under one umbrella. Because what has happened over the years is that the industry is so fragmented. The fragmentation of the industry, which has been a major problem in the industry, has made it difficult for us to have access to funding, issues with distribution, and issues with production. So what CAX is trying to do here is to make sure that we can now begin to solve that problem. And we're looking forward to 2020 because that's the big year when we're about to release all the stuff that AFREXIM Bank has put together for us to actually bring the creative industry on the continent together.
Real big stuff. Let me talk to Tony. Creative industry. I knew at the time when Nigeria was rebased, they talked about the positives in that sector. Tell us more about the event, that 2020 event. I know you're a lady and you'll be able to explain more so that we understand.
Okay, so thanks, Tolu, for the question, and thanks to TVC for having us. So the event is an opportunity for everyone in the creative space and in that economy and that ecosystem to be part of this development. So be it an investor, be you a sponsor, be you a strategic partner, be you a creative yourself. And when I say creatives, I mean the entire span. Right now, we're in this TV studio, but you being an anchor person, right? You've done your research, you've brought up your material, but there might be a research analyst helping you. Do you understand? Assisting you. In this same space, an architect designed this space. There was a lighting part of this. There's a structural part of it. So a lot of people think creative is just, oh, maybe just art and entertainment. No, there's an entire ecosystem. So this event is going to show everyone and educate us all that, hey, guys, guess what? This is a multi-billion-dollar industry that can change any economy. In 2018, the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development released a report because it is now clear that in just 3 years, the creative industry doubled in the exports and in the business opportunities. So this is what we need to focus on and say, okay, Africa as a whole, as a continent, we are 54 countries strong. Why can't we maximize these talents that we have? Why can't we engage our youth? 60% of the population is below what? Below 40.
Below 40. Yeah.
So if, for instance, we can engage even 40% of the youth in the creative sector, can you imagine the exponential growth?
That's correct.
So that's why we're saying that, look, everyone and anyone, be you an investor, a regulator, a lawyer, because these are the other parts that are required in this sector.
That's right, yeah. They're very
How
needed.
do we build a structure? How do we develop policies? How do we put the creative economy on, there's a balanced payment scale worldwide. But how do I say, oh, a graduate of theater arts is entitled this compensation vis-a-vis someone that has 10 years or 15 years experience? How do we structure those policies and have that in place and grow our economy? This is critical. So this event in January is focused production, funding, and distribution.
Let's take it from there. Production, funding, and distribution. Who are the beneficiaries? She's highlighted some of it, but you can shed more light
The beneficiaries for us will be the practitioners, those who are already in the sector, those who are already in the industry. Investors, those who want to invest in the space, the creative space. We're also looking at sponsors, those who feel that, we want to come on board and actually be part of this whole economy that we're looking at. Just like what Tony said a few minutes ago, most of the African continent are under 40, Tolu. And really that means that shows you the indication of where the continent is actually going. And it is such a low-hanging fruit that if you really invest in this, you've actually empowered the economy on the continent. But the problem has been is the fragmentation. So the investors are always saying, we don't know how to come in. Even the money that CBN just did recently with the banks, right? A good example is that one. Trust me, most of those commercial banks don't know what to do in that sector. And you see them creating little buzz hubs and here, but that's not the issue. The issue is to get everyone together. So I'm asking all our audience to make their way to Kigali and be part of this. I'm asking the banks in Nigeria and the banks on the continent to get involved, because this is where the future of Africa is lying.
I tell you.
And AFREXIM Bank has spotted out that they're moving forward.
I look at it so beautiful, and I'm wondering why we've not taken advantage of all of this before. The focus was just oil, oil, oil.
Right.
So it's at this time we're now talking non-oil exports.
Right.
We're now seeing what's happening in this field. I don't know, what do you think pulled us back this much in this part of the world?
First of all, they say knowledge is power.
Yes.
So maybe because we hadn't seen it done before, or the possibilities. So about 2 months ago, the BBC released a report about the City of London and the employment index, saying that 6 out of 10 jobs are in the creative sector. Wow. Right. So because we now have all that information, we are now asking ourselves the critical questions. What do we do going forward? That's why we're saying it's not just the creatives to come to this event. This event is a knowledge sharing session. It's a case where each person can say, oh, in my region, this is possible. This is what I have available. Can we structure this? And as Mr. Ike just mentioned, all the banks have some access now to funding. How is that funding structured? Who is getting that money? Is it just the entertainers? No.
Exactly.
How are we building infrastructure to support this system? Look at the campus here at TVC. How many of these do we have replicated? What is the capacity of TVC? Are you actually at 100%? The answer is no. What can TVC do, even plugging into that fund and expanding it? Then let's not even get to youth development. We have how many youth on the streets every day? What if they were engaged as writers? What if they were engaged as publishers? What if they were engaged even just to conceptualize and to craft and to draw? There's so much that can be done, even just as weavers. The African fabric is something that the intricacies are recognized and appreciated worldwide. How have you taken this? Even if you go into textile, excuse me. Every time you have an Ankaran print, what do we do with it? We make a dress with it, and then we make furniture with it.
Exactly.
Yet, when we travel across the water,
you buy it.
You have the fabric for furniture is totally different from fabric for clothes. Why haven't we engaged our textile manufacturers to produce African fabric for furniture, and not using the Ankara that we all use to wear our daily clothes? So that's like there is so much to be done.
So much.
And let me just piggyback off what Tony said before we
okay.
So the multilaterals like AFREXIM Bank have 3 major mandates. One of them is job creation, putting together the right economy and infrastructure, and the third one is return on investment. So what we're talking about here, Tolu, is actually part of their mandate. So the AFREXIM Bank has been able to say, you know what, this is something that was needed on the continent. They have the AITF coming up the same in next year, 2020, in Kigali, Rwanda. So that's the big one. That's the Inter-African Trade Fair. And we are also part of the people who are pushing that whole trade fair. For the creative industry now has taken its place and said, you know what, we're going to actually be part of this big organization's dream to build the African economy. And I think this is the way forward. And CAX is here to stay. CAX is the solution that we've been looking for a long time. Africa. And this is the time in Africa.
And I always
Africa with a population of 1.2 billion people.
And I always liken CAX to FIFA.
Exactly, that's the FIFA.
CAX is the FIFA for the creative space.
Wow.
That's right, yes.
Basically it.
Yes.
Wow. And so we're asking everyone, go and register.
Yes.
And we're actually saying that for regulators, investors, this is your opportunity. Come and network. Come and meet the right people. So for all the banks in Nigeria, you're wondering, how do I plug into this money? I don't want to return this money back to CBN. I want to use this money and actually have a return on my investment. Come and hear from the guys at AFREXIM Bank, from UNESCO, from AFDB. How do we move forward with this? And how do I grow this economy?
The Bank of Industry.
Bank of Industry as well.
Of course, so I know they should be when it comes to
yes.
So they don't joke with it.
So that's exactly what we're saying. Register, confirm your registration, right? And make your way to Kigali. You won't regret the trip.
And it's a free event.
Wow. I wish TVC2 should be carried along. We should also be involved in this and know what's
We have a lot of
Kigali.
strategic partners also who are also part of the whole
thing.
Okay,
let's see how all of that plays out. Thank you very much, Toyin Alamoto, Project Manager, CAX Program, Ike Ogwebile, Director of Operations and Strategy, CAX. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts, explaining what's up and what's going to be happening in Kigali in like 2 weeks or something.
2 weeks, yeah.
All right, thank you so much again.